Hey there, this is Teddy Collins, owner of Spartan Defense Armory and a firearms instructor as well as a 2A advocate, bringing you this edition of the Second Syndicate. For those of you who are just now tuning into our show, the Second Syndicate is more than just a show, it's a movement. We are focused entirely on the Second Amendment. We bring exclusive conversations with political activists, gun rights activists, and industry leaders shaping the future of firearms in America. So yeah, we got some special guests here today. I'm going to hand it off to my co-host, Alicia Garcia, also known as the Boomstick Babe, and she'll introduce some of our special guests today. Go ahead, Alicia.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really, really excited to bring this show to you. I know it's been a long time coming. We've had a lot of people request that we start a live show, but nevertheless, better late than never. So if you aren't familiar with who I am, my name is Alicia Garcia. I am the plaintiff in Garcia versus Polis, suing against the 3-day waiting period. I'm also a firearms educator, RSO, and a Second Amendment advocate for Colorado and nationally. I'm pretty much known as the bad girl, the 2-way in Colorado. We are here today to discuss some really cool things. We have a lot of Colorado legislation we're going to discuss today, some current events and a couple other stuff. We have some really great guests today. We have John Fabbricatore, one of my favorite people in the industry.
Oh, there we go.
I'll let him introduce himself. And then we also have Danielle Jurinsky. She is a shero of mine. She is a powerhouse here in the state of Colorado. She is a Aurora Councilwoman that basically brought a red wave of freedom back to Colorado, which makes me very, very proud. I am so excited to have these two on the show today. John, we'll hand it over to you. Why don't you give us a little bit of background and information about who you are?
Tell us about yourself for those that don't know who you are, but they should.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. And Danielle's a shero of mine too. I love that. I love that word. She's awesome. So I'm John Fabbricatore. I retired from the federal government after 30 years. My last job was as the director for the Denver field office for Immigration Customs Enforcement. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I am very, very 2A, shall not infringe. I'm a firearms instructor, NRA firearms instructor. I've been an instructor for, I think, 15 years now. I've trained hundreds and hundreds of people in concealed carry. And I'm an advocate as a law enforcement officer, someone who's been in law enforcement for many years. I'm an advocate of the Second Amendment. And I believe of the right to defend and arm yourself.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And John, am I mistaken in saying that you've also been a gun lobbyist as well in the past?
I've been a lobbyist. I wouldn't say I've been a gun lobbyist. I've worked with some of the gun industry. I've worked for FNH Firearms as an adjunct instructor for many years, but not a actual gun lobbyist, but have been a lobbyist. I was a lobbyist last year.
Well, you're going to have to school me on some things because I think it's about time I step my game up. But let's talk to Danielle, my darling. I think you're so fabulous. I'm so honored to have you here on the show. Take it away. Give everybody a synopsis of how absolutely amazing you are.
Well, thank you. That's very humbling. Quite an introduction. Good to see you, John. My name is Danielle Jurinsky. For those that don't know me, I serve on the Aurora City Council. I ran for office in 2020. I went into the pandemic owning 3 bars and restaurants. I somehow came out owning 4 bars and restaurants. That's how fired up I got when the government treaded on my rights and unjustly shut down my businesses and took away my ability to support my family. So that is what engaged me in politics. During that time, the Aurora City Council, people don't pay attention to local politics. But while my businesses were closed, I didn't know that the city council had the authority to raise the minimum wage. And during 2020, while my businesses were shut down, the Aurora City Council at that time came forward with a resolution to raise the minimum wage in Aurora to $20 an hour. So I decided they knocked on my door. They came for me. I answered the door. I ran my race. I won. I came into office. I went after the police chief that was out kneeling with the protesters, holding defund the police signs. She was out kneeling with them.
Real advocate for his department there, huh?
What?
Real advocate for his department there, huh?
Well, it was a she.
It's a woman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a she, but she had a girlfriend that worked for Department of Human Services that I was unaware of, who came after me and tried to unjustly take my child from me. So I went through that. That is very public information. It's all over the news. It was all over the news. She's now sitting in prison. Then after that, I've charged after many different things, but I watched our southern border be invaded. John's been a friend of mine since I ran for office, and I went and toured the ICE facility. That's how I met him. And I found out about this gang, Tren de Aragua, and I charged after them when I realized that everyone around me was lying, when I realized that there were Americans trapped in this apartment complex. I called a few good men, if you will, and I asked them to get their guns. Literally, I said that to John Fabbricatore. I said, you're going to have to get a gun. This is that kind of operation. That when the government fails to act, the people will. Yes. And John and I and some other men with guns, we went in there and we moved these Americans out to safety. I'm also a proud supporter of the Second Amendment and all things Colorado.
Awesome.
Right on.
Yeah, from my understanding, you're the one that really brought the attention from the Trump administration to the issues that were going on in Aurora as far as Tren de Aragua is concerned.
That's right.
That's awesome.
I mean, everybody around me was.
But wait, Polis said that doesn't exist, that's not a real thing.
So did Kyle Clark.
Is that correct, guys?
Well, and I quote, Governor Polis said, this is largely a feature of Danielle Jurinsky's imagination.
Wow.
And they still haven't eaten their words. I mean, they owe Danielle an apology. I mean, she's not going to get it from them, but I mean, the things that were said about her, through 9 News, through Governor Polis, through other politicians, was just ludicrous. I mean, Danielle was out there doing her job, and they were striking down at her, and they have never come forward and given her that apology, and she definitely deserves one.
Well, I definitely do want to talk a little bit more about Tren de Aragua tonight, but we'll get into that. What I want to do for our viewers though is do a little update on what's going on in the legislature. I'm going to let Alicia do that and go over some of the details of what's occurring. Yeah, you. So why don't you give us a little update of where we are with some of the gun bills that are going on in the legislature, and then we can talk a little bit more about the Second Amendment and also Tren de Aragua and the things going on here in Colorado with crime.
Okay, folks. Well, the down and dirty, ugly thing is we do have Senate Bill 25003, which is the lie from the people saying that it is a mag enforcement bill. This is not a mag enforcement bill. This is a ban on semi-automatic magazine-fed firearms, which is abundance. We're gonna have a drinking game if you guys are gonna watch this show when we interrupt each other all the time. So hopefully you guys don't get too drunk when that happens. But so it is a semi-automatic ban on magazine-fed firearms. They have postponed it previously, which is a very good sign. It will be heard on the 13th, which is tomorrow, in Senate on the Senate floor, which means the public cannot speak out like you normally would in committee hearing, but you are welcome to attend. You can sit up in the rafters and listen to them debate on the Senate floor, which we highly encourage you to do and get involved and get a lot of media attention. And if you're out there in the world and you have a platform, big it up on your platform, share it. We want to make sure that we keep as much pressure on these people as possible. If you are educated in firearms information, feel free to reach out to your senators and give them information to help them support their arguments, because they need to hear from this community and have factual based arguments that they can contribute to that. At the same time that is being debated on the Senate House floor, another bill is going to be heard. It is House Bill 1133. It is a 21 and under ammunition ban, and it is going to be in the House of Business Affairs at 1:30 p.m. You can sign up to testify or either online or in person for that. We always want to remind you guys, written testimony does not get written. It goes straight into the trash. Nobody cares. So if you want to have an impact, make sure that you are voicing your opinion live and direct in front of these people or via remote. We also have House Bill 251164, which is the constitutional carry proposition. We definitely want to support that. Representative Weinberg created that, which is awesome, to bring constitutional carry to Colorado. I hear a lot of naysayers on the internet saying that'll never pass. That'll never pass. Listen, people. Where there's a will, there's a way. And if we can put enough pressure and we can get enough involvement, we can make the people so important and so much the mob that they have to do what the people want. So remember your power, remember your voice, that you hold that and you control that. There's also House Bill 251062, which is the penalty for theft of firearms. That was introduced last year by Armagost, correct?
Yep, Rep. Armagost.
But it was shut down by the Democrats. They decided that they did not want it to be a felony to be in possession of a stolen firearm.
Yeah, they said it would disproportionately affect minority communities bullets was the reason they shot that down. That was literally the reason given on the floor during the hearings. So they want to affect us law-abiding citizens and our Second Amendment rights, but yet they will not hold criminals responsible. And as someone who owns a store that's been affected by criminals that have been let out after essentially stealing firearms, it's something I'm definitely going to be testifying at. Things like that. Can't touch
Can I
them.
just jump in there real quick on
Sure.
that point? To that point, for them to say that is a very racist statement.
100% agree, because they're saying that
Yeah.
minorities are the ones that'll be most affected by it because they're going to be committing crimes. It's insane. It is 100% racist, and it is a stupid argument at the end of the day.
Yep.
Crime doesn't see color. Crime is crime.
Yeah,
That's
minorities
how I
want to
feel
be
about it.
protected from crime just as much as anybody else. So
100%. 100%. And I was going to, just to cover some of the things that Alicia was talking about here about some of the bills going on. Like she said, guys, Senate Bill 003, that will be a hearing that they will most likely vote on it tomorrow unless they reschedule. They did reschedule last week, so we did get a little bit of a reprieve from that, which means they didn't have the votes to whip up. So there's probably going to be some heavy amendments to the bill. We'll have to see what form and shape it takes after that tomorrow. So I definitely recommend people tune into that. I'm going to try to be there if I can. I most likely will be able to. We'll see. And if so, I will be the person that probably gets kicked out and yells "you lie" if they try to pass this and try to pull it off as just a magazine bag. Oh no, I mean, I'm not gonna be violent or anything like that, but I won't be muzzled either. It's my constitutional right at the end of the day. But the ammo bill that Alicia was talking about is pretty important as well. For those of you who don't understand what this is going to do and haven't read up on it, it'll essentially raise the age to purchase long gun ammunition and shotgun ammunition to 21. Also, getting it shipped to your house if you buy online, that's going to be pretty much impossible under this bill. You'll have to have it sent and transferred through a gun store, which most gun stores are just not going to deal with, just to be honest. So it's pretty much going to ban online sales of ammunition to the state of Colorado. It's a pretty big deal. The other bills that we discussed and that we talked about, there's some pretty important ones there. The criminal penalties ones, as someone that has been affected by crime myself and my store by crime, we need harsher penalties on people that actually commit these crimes. I mean, if these anti-gunners really want to be effective, they should make the criminal penalty for stealing and using a firearm in crime to a point where they would second guess using a firearm in the crime and using something else. Let's put it that way. We should make it so harsh that they know that if they use that stolen firearm, steal that firearm, use it in a crime, that they're going to go to jail for the majority of their life. Unfortunately, we have a catch and release system right now. I mean, the people that hit us in our store, which we can talk about here, their immigration status is in question. Their names were Venezuelan last names. They were minors and they were let out within 30 days because there's not enough juvenile beds in the state of Colorado to house these minors, and these minors are being used usually by adults. In fact, the getaway driver was an adult using these minors, and they're doing this because they know that they're going to be charged with a lesser crime as an adult, and the minors are just going to get out, and it's sad. So especially when it comes to violent crime and gun theft, we need harsher penalties. I honestly say that this bill probably doesn't go far enough, but it's a step in the right direction. So, that's what I have to say about that. Alicia, do you want to bring us into the next topic with these guys?
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the things I want people to understand, though, between tonight and tomorrow and all day, you have the ability to reach out to Jared Polis, and you have an ability to say to him that you do not want these types of bills, you do not support them, because you can get in his ear. If they're discussing this right now, we're hearing rumors that the reason Senate Bill 25003 was postponed is because
he doesn't want to sign it.
He doesn't want to sign it, and he doesn't want to be a part of it. So we're hearing rumors that there's going to be some major amendments and pushes from the governor's office to get that bill changed. We don't want it changed because, frankly, we're not going to be okay with any type of bill like this. So let them know how you feel and speak out. It's very, very important. We'll put in the chat when we save this video the information that you need to contact your governor. Yeah, it's obviously made a difference with everybody that's been viewing this and watching these previous episodes we've done, and getting people involved, because it looked like a really long shot that this was not going to pass, and now it's in flux. They've pushed it back now twice. Yep, and that's the power of the people.
That's the power of the people.
Voice.
And we've had sponsors take their names off the bill. We've even had the Senate Minority Leader and Whip publicly come out against this, which is our majority, I should say, not minority, majority leader that's come out publicly against this. That's huge. That's huge. That puts a lot of pressure on the politics and on all the politicians involved. It really makes them think twice about this. And again, Polis, like you said, does not want to sign this. He has obviously national ambitions, whether that works out for him or not. But this would be basically a scarlet letter if he ever tried to run for any form of national office. So he doesn't want this. Well, we're seeing that Colorado is top 3 in the nation right now for violent crime.
And you see exactly why, because we have issues like Danielle discovered. We have issues with all of these people coming in here, Colorado being a quote unquote sanctuary state for crime. Feel free to elaborate that, John and or Danielle, is how did we get here in the first place? The things that were pinnacle in bringing these types of, scenarios in this environment to Colorado.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to dive into that, right away, I mean, we can just go historical on that. So, in 2006, Governor Owens had actually passed a bill, SB 90, saying that this state would not be a sanctuary state. And originally, we had some great laws in the early 2000s. We had a 287G program. The State Patrol helped Immigration Customs Enforcement with human smuggling and human trafficking. We were making some great arrests along I-70. And, we were stopping a lot of the crime that was coming into this state. We were stopping a lot of drug trafficking, and it was good. And then, we started to get into the early 2013, and the Democrats started taking over the state house, and they actually took away SB 90. They did away with SB 90. So they got rid of it, saying that we could not be a sanctuary state. And they never put anything in place saying we were a sanctuary state, but they passed multiple laws that make this state a sanctuary. Some of those laws, that you've seen are, 19-1124, which keeps local law enforcement from working with Immigration Customs Enforcement on civil immigration enforcement, does not allow them to accept detainers, does not allow probation and parole. Yes, that's right, probation and parole to contact ICE after a criminally convicted illegal alien is released. We've seen a Senate Bill 83, which keeps ICE agents out of courthouses. So crazy. ICE agents used to go into courthouses. We used to wait for sentencing for an alien to be sentenced, and then we would take custody of that alien before they were released to the street on a bond or something. Now we can't do that. ICE agents are forbidden from entering. In fact, it's against the law for them to go into a courthouse.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah, they in 2023 they did 23-1100, which kept the sheriffs from being able to keep in their custody any illegal aliens. So ICE used to do contracts with the jails, and we would pay the jails to house criminal illegal aliens for us, which was very important in the state of Colorado. When I was the director over all of Colorado and Wyoming, which is 200,000 square miles. And now we only have one jail in 2 states to house those illegal aliens. And that's the Aurora Detention Center, in which Miss Jurinsky has been there. She's toured it. She knows very well what that center is about. But now any agent that makes an arrest in Wyoming or in Colorado has to travel all the way back to Aurora to house those aliens that they arrest. So if you make an arrest in Durango, Colorado, you have to then get that alien all the way back up to Aurora. If you make an arrest on the Western Slope in Grand Junction, you need to travel all the way back to Aurora to house that criminal that you just arrested. And you can see, I mean, if you've lived in Colorado, you know what it's like going over mountain passes, and it's not going to happen. So it really does limit. It's the state limiting law enforcement, federal law enforcement, from being able to do their job. And Polis doesn't want to admit it, but the laws that they've put in place keep ICE from efficiently doing their job in the state of Colorado.
Yeah. And in my situation, John, I was told there wasn't enough juvenile beds or beds to hold the individuals. And I was also told that they could not report it to ICE due to state law if these people were in fact illegally in the United States. Also, I was told by city council members, by state senators and House representatives, I won't go into details on the individuals, but by multiples, that there are only X amount of juvenile beds. I think it's like 97 or 100 and something for the entire area of Colorado.
Yes.
Colorado Springs is with suburbs close to 500,000 people, 500,000 people. Wow. And some of those beds are being taken up by illegals when they could be used for other juvenile criminals. And they're literally having to play a game of, is this person a murderer? Am I able to keep them? Or was it attempted murder versus murder? Should I let this person out with an ankle monitor on, or let them out in general? Because I don't have room for them in the facilities. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier. You mentioned that there was an adult getaway driver, and that the adult was using the juveniles to rob the store. That's absolutely true on what happened. So I used to work a lot on heroin when we had a huge heroin. We still have a huge heroin problem in Colorado, but back in about 2017, we were running some heroin operations in downtown Denver, and I was running into dozens of Honduran juveniles that were dealing heroin on the Cherry Creek Trail. So what was happening is the Honduran organized criminal organization, a transnational criminal organization from Honduras, was using those juveniles to sell the heroin in Denver, because they knew that if the juveniles were arrested, they were just going to be let back out of jail. And then that organization would just move those juveniles to, Salt Lake City. They'd move them to Newark, New Jersey. So they were just rotating these kids around dealing dope. And because we couldn't detain them and we couldn't touch them because of sanctuary status, these kids are just being trafficked from state to state dealing heroin.
Wow.
So, I definitely want to get Danielle in here too. And I want to ask, in y'all's experience, are the guns that you're seeing these criminal illegal gangs or just criminal gangs in general, are they acquiring those legally? Are they getting those through a gun store legally? Are they putting a 4473 out there in a background check? I'm just curious. Are they being stolen? Where are these guns coming from?
Yeah, Danielle's probably seen some stuff from the Aurora PD. Danielle, what have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, there have been multiple gun stores robbed up and down the Front Range and in other states. Yeah. So that's how they're acquiring a lot of the guns. And then when they get a lot of guns, it's easy for them to take guns off of other people. So that's how, they're getting them. Cindy Romero, who John and I moved out of the apartment complex, her and her husband, they had said that just earlier, it was earlier in the day, the night that there was the final shootout, which is the reason we had to move them out, they said that they believed it was at least 200 guns. They watched these men walking up and down the hallways, and we've all seen the viral video.
Yeah, they were armed with AK-47s and then some pretty heavy artillery. Yeah.
Well, and you can see in the background when they're coming up the hallway, in the background it's all windows, and that's what this apartment complex looks like. So It was one building over. Cindy Romero reported that Sunday morning she witnessed them going up and down the stairs, which she said she believed with over 200 guns that they were holding on the second floor of one building over from her building in the complex. Where were the guns?
Are you saying they didn't wait the required 3 days in the state of Colorado in order to legally possess that firearm and pick it up?
Yeah, I don't even think that they had a Colorado ID. I don't even think these people. But we don't ever hear about that. Right. We just hear about them wanting to take rights away from law-abiding citizens. They don't have an actual plan of how they're going to keep guns out of the hands of bad people or guns from coming across the border, or what we're seeing now, guns being 3D printed. They don't have a plan for any of this to keep these guns off the street. They just want to continue to encroach on our rights. And just real quick, something that I wanted to say. The exact number of juvenile beds that we have in the state of Colorado right now is 216.
And that is for the entire state?
For the entire state. And it is being heard also. So this is a bill that I am following. I don't have the bill number off the top of my head, but what is being discussed right now is raising that. It's a whopping number, guys, from 216 to 256. So raising 40 beds. My stance, of course, is there should be no bed cap in this state. We will have as many beds as we need to have.
Necessary to hold violent criminals.
That's right. That's exactly right. Judges should not be deciding which juvenile murderer they're going to let out to house another juvenile murderer. And of course, we've seen a huge uptick with all of our new neighbors here from Venezuela and all over the world taking up our bed space. So that bill is being heard this week down at the state capitol. Another thing that the bill is seeking to do currently right now, the 216 beds is just divvied up evenly
by areas, right?
By areas.
Yes.
And you can't move those numbers. So Podunk, part of Colorado where no juveniles are being arrested like ever.
They still have those beds safe for them.
Yeah. They're holding 3 beds. Those 3 beds right now cannot be moved to the Denver metro area. Those 3 beds.
I think you're right. I think there should be no limit on beds. I also think that, especially for violent crimes like murder or attempted murder, they should start trying people as adults. From my understanding, the legislator made it where you could almost impossible to try a minor as an adult a couple years ago, if I remember correct. I don't remember the legislation. Maybe one of y'all knows. But on top of that, also, holding adults accountable that use minors in issues like this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
what if we, we need a penalty for that adult that's driving the car.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. And I've never taken a legal firearm off of an illegal alien ever in my career.
No.
And so I've taken dozens and dozens of guns off of illegal aliens, and never was one of those guns legally obtained. So illegal aliens cannot own a firearm. There, 18 USC 922G5 states that you cannot be an illegal alien in possession of a firearm.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it was a charge we used against illegal aliens when we found them in possession of firearms, and I never took a legal firearm off of an illegal alien ever. So they are getting them through illicit means. They're stealing them. They're buying them on the street, and I mean that's the way that it goes. They're probably buying them now from Tren de Aragua gang members who are now dealing guns in our community.
Well, I know I just got an ATF alert recently. They were very serious about Glock switches because I guess they're finding that on a lot of criminals that they're arresting. They're finding these 3D printed Glock switches that can, modify a firearm and turn it into a fully automatic. Us civilians can't do it unless we spend tens or $30,000 and it's pre-86. But they can just literally 3D print a device that makes that capable. It's not a real full auto, but it makes it function as one.
When you have drug money and illegal money that nobody's tracking, you can pretty much get whatever you want. And a lot of people don't understand that all of these things come together, right?
Correct. And they're very simple technology
guns,
too.
Human trafficking, all of these things tend to be income for illegal gangs and these types of criminal activities. I want to ask you, that makes me very curious, John, what types of firearms are these people, hoarding, and what happens with these guns?
What are you seeing the most of?
Do they get charged with gun crimes when they're in possession of guns as well, or what happens to them after that point?
Yeah, I mean, when I was with ICE, we always did try to charge the illegal aliens with the 922G charge on alien in possession of a firearm, but it's really up to the U.S. attorney to take those cases. And a lot of times, the U.S. attorneys wouldn't, they just would rather see the alien deported instead of going through the process of actually charging them with the gun crime as well. So we saw a lot of that where the charges were just dropped. The U.S. Attorney's Office didn't have either the bandwidth to take that case enhancer, and they just chose not to. But to answer your question on what types of guns, it's everything. I mean, I've come across AK-47s, ARs, sniper rifles. I mean, tons and tons of handguns, all the way from like the most crappiest handgun that like you take off somebody and like the cylinders falling out, because it's like it's like a 90-year-old revolver, like that Captain Kidd probably would have used, all the way up to like your $5,000 race gun, because they're robbing everything. So they may come across something that's all tricked out, or they may come across some piece of crap that they're just going to stick in their back pocket. But it was everything. And I mean, that's what we have to be concerned about as citizens. And this is why you need to be armed. The bad guys are all armed with tons of different things. You have to be armed. You better be armed. It first of all, is your constitutional right. And if you don't use rights, you lose rights.
Correct.
So use that right. It's a very, very important that you are able to defend yourself.
Yeah. For those that are watching this, that have never taken a firearms class, I highly advise you to seek out training, to seek out some form of training, no matter if you're a gun owner or not. If you have not had formal training in the last year or the last decade at minimum, you need to seek out some training. The gun culture, the gun war, the gun instruction is always being modified and advanced and adaptive as we find new solutions to things. I mean, God, look at how the styles of it, even from the early 2000s to today, how things are being taught differently, and what we're finding out with new statistics and new criminal engagements that are occurring with law enforcement. I mean, a lot of law enforcement back in the early 2000s were trained to shoot static. They weren't trained to get off the axis. They weren't trained to move and shoot. They weren't trained to do these things. And as a result, we saw a lot of law enforcement officers getting stabbed because they would just stand their ground and they wouldn't get out of the way of the knife. They wouldn't get out of the way of the charging attacker. So please seek out some training. Going to an indoor range and shooting at 3, 7, and 15 yards or whatever distance you have there is not enough to defend your life. You should literally train every single aspect and be prepared for the worst case scenario, because at the end of the day, the bad guy may be better armed than you. They may be physically stronger than you. They may be physically faster than you. Train train.
And the issue with that also is people seem to forget that anytime you're going to be responding to a threat, it's because you're going to be reactive. You're not law enforcement. You're
That's
not
right.
out there that's proactively carrying,
No.
in a level 2 holster
Right.
and investigating things. If you're responding to a threat, it's because something is already happening and you're already behind the 8 ball. So you need to be able to be quick. You need to be able to be focused. And you need to be able to function in a stressful environment. And
That's
you
right.
will default to your lowest form of training. So if you don't know how to come out of concealment, how to move, the difference between concealment and cover, your stock is plummeting in that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to stress, that I stress to all my students in my classes, is this one class is never going to be enough.
Never.
You need to take
Especially
a classroom
CCW
education.
class.
You need to take, basic just firearm
Agreed.
safety. You need to take coming out of concealment. You need to take a medical class. And this is one of the things that I really would like to see this community and everybody in the state of Colorado understand, that if a bill like Senate Bill 25003 passes, you are going to need to take an extreme medical stop the bleed course, because people are going to start dying.
Yeah,
People
good
are
luck
gonna
with
start dying.
good luck if you have a jam with a fixed magazine, by the way. If you
Yeah.
ever have a double feed or something like
Ridiculous.
that, hold on, bad guy. Let me disassemble my entire firearm and fix this malfunction. It's not going to happen. Seconds are life. Seconds is life.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Danielle, what's going on in Aurora with the rise of crime and gang violence there? And what are you seeing that is being done to counteract that? I mean, I know we've seen, thank God, I'm not sure if a lot of people understand this, but we did have Tom Homan, the border czar, come to Colorado and to Aurora a couple months
What a
back.
tough
and
dude, by the way.
dude,
He is a tough
he's got
SOB,
presence, man.
He does.
And
He
that's
does.
where I actually met Danielle. John actually invited me out to that event. So
Yeah, I
it
don't
was
want to be on
Tom,
that guy's bad side.
it was Bovert, it was these two amazing patriots and another gentleman. And he said, and I quote him, he said, it's not if President Trump gets elected, it's when he gets elected.
Yes.
He is going to come
Thank
out of
God.
retirement and he is going to come here, and his gang is bigger than their gang. So Danielle, first of all, thank you so much for having the gall to push back against people that are calling you a liar.
Especially against a violent gang. I mean, that takes
Yeah.
a lot of courage. It really does. And
Beast
that's
mode.
something that, I mean, I am curious
mode.
to, I'm curious if you've received threats from that, but we can talk about that later. I'm definitely curious to, how it's affected you in your life, and it's got to be a scary situation. But go ahead. Sorry.
Project Aurora is happening. I'm seeing it happen, but I mean, you're actively involved as a city councilwoman. So tell us, what do you see is happening? What do you think are solutions that are being presented, and what would you like to see improve?
Well, specifically for Aurora, I mean, this gang is on the run. Let's be honest. This gang is absolutely on the run. And I don't think just from Aurora, I think from Colorado in general. I mean, so much attention was brought down on them. The ones that haven't already been arrested. I mean, we've seen some Tren de Aragua members be arrested out of New York, out of Chicago, but they're all on warrants out of Aurora. And just to talk about gun rights, the media wanted to debate with me the word take over. What constitutes an apartment complex take over?
Is it the majority of the apartment complex?
Well, let me tell you, when you have a transnational gang, Tren de Aragua members, open carrying,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
actively
Unlawful
patrolling.
firearms. Yes.
Yeah, actively patrolling. There was video footage that the Romeros released of them stopping cars at gunpoint in the parking lot to
Like a
see who
cartel
was in the
checkpoint in
car.
Mexico.
Mhm.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. I mean, so let's start there. Why it's so important that law-abiding citizens can arm ourselves. I mean, we can start there. This was a takeover. I don't know if you saw the article that was released today in Fox News, but more and more just keeps coming out. One property manager was beaten so badly he was hospitalized. Then there was another report of Tren de Aragua members who were armed and on the way in process to go murder another one of the property managers. And everybody wanted to argue the word takeover with me. That was the sticking point. What constitutes a takeover? So just on that point, why it is
They
so
want to get into
important.
technicalities and definitions. Love that. Versus the actual point of reporting. It's insane.
Well,
Well,
the
that's
fact
right.
that people's lives are in danger.
Yes.
That's right. And it's coming out all over the place now. It's coming out all over the place. So many people have egg on their face. I was the one who told the truth from day one, as soon as I found out about it, and took action when others would not take action. But where it kind of sits in Aurora right now is, there's definitely still crime. This state is exploding every day with crime, it seems. But with Tren de Aragua specifically, most of them are on the run. You see the ICE raids happening. Tom Homan said they're going to keep coming.
It's good to finally see some liberal media outlets report on some of these ICE raids that are occurring. I guess the gangs did exist because they're arresting people that are in these gangs. So it's not just in our minds.
Well, they very much exist.
Article on you, Danielle, in the Westward. That is a very, very left
it is.
Newspaper. I kind of wrote the Westward off back in the day. I was that kid that lived in Capitol Hill, and I'd get the Westward to see all the clubs and events and stuff that was going on. But it really went left for quite some time, really trashing a lot of conservative ideologies. And then I saw that they were starting to put a spotlight on a lot of the crime and things that are happening in Denver. And then they put a spotlight on you. So I think things are changing. I don't know if it's because they feel that they have to, or they want to stay relevant, but it's because of people like you. It's because of people like John. It's because of people like us that are constantly speaking truth, that aren't afraid to own the truth and to keep pushing back and keep informing people.
Hey guys, just real quick, for those of you who are viewing right now, I want to thank you for viewing. If you do have any questions, by the way, for us or for our special guests tonight, feel free to type them out. We will ask questions. If y'all have any questions, please do. But go ahead. Sorry.
No. Please continue though. So what do you think is some of the good solutions that you're seeing going on in Aurora? And one of the things that really freaked me out I think it was in the past year or so, was the home invasions that we were seeing happening. Yeah. People dressing up as delivery people, knocking on doors, literally kicking doors down, invading homes, people with children, women. There was businesses. I remember that jeweler business where they broke in that business, beat the crap out of the women, stole all their stuff. And for some reason, the mainstream media doesn't want to acknowledge that these things are happening. And not only they're happening, they're abundant in how often they're happening.
Yeah. There was the man who was kidnapped in Denver by a confirmed Tren de Aragua member. He was kidnapped. They chopped his fingers off. It barely made the news. It barely made the news. That man, a Venezuelan man, he self-deported. Back to Venezuela. And then told me
that's sad with the state of Venezuela too, that it's safer to be in Venezuela than it is to be in the United States.
I can tell you, there's a lot of these folks, they have asked me for plane tickets home. How do I get home? I want to go home. I should have never come here. There is no American dream. I think this is the hardest thing for me, right? And we talk about them being here illegally, and we can say all we want, right? But at the end of the day, we're all humans. And being a patriot means so much more to me than just politics, right? And hearing from the mouths of these folks that are here from socialist countries, communist countries, living under the regimes that they live, having them look me in the eyes with tears in their eyes and tell me America is not what I was told it is. There is no American dream here. There's nothing. So
that's
for
sad.
Me, that kills me. I think I take that so hard, right? And then it's like, I don't have to defend my country to you, right? But I will always defend my country. I love this country, and the American dream is real. And we have an immigration process that does work, or did work, with the Remain in Mexico policy.
We definitely want immigrants. This country was built on immigrants. We just don't want criminals coming into our country. We want to know who's coming in, and we want the right immigrants coming in.
And I have made that crystal clear. I have made that crystal clear. But I will tell you, holding a woman, regardless of where she's from, holding a woman that has been sex trafficked, I can't even explain. And here's what happened to me. This is my personal story. When John and I went in, and some others, and we moved the Romeros out, that wasn't the end for me, because when we first got to the apartment complex, John remembers this. He was standing outside, and a lot of shouting took place. I first entered the building. We had the U-Haul truck kind of staged a couple blocks down the road because we were so scared for the Romeros. If Tren de Aragua found out that they were trying to move out, I mean, they might have been murdered. So, you know, I kind of told John, everybody, you know, we're not going to take personal vehicles. This is on me. I'll take my vehicle. I had the U-Haul truck hidden a couple blocks down the road. We got there, and here's my brilliant idea. I'm just going to walk into the building, go get the Romeros to come down, move the truck into place, and we're going to go. I walk into the building, and I'm immediately chased up 2 flights of stairs by one of these gang members.
Jesus.
There was police on the property. I told John and everybody just to stay out. I was going to go in myself and get the Romeros. And I had a Tren de Aragua gang member chase me up 2 flights of stairs. Fortunately, there was a police officer. There was a couple police officers when the shouting started. I think, John, you saw a couple of the police officers ran inside. One of the police officers ran up the other. There's 2 staircases. One of the police officers ran up the other staircase and got in this guy's face. But I mean, there is nothing holding them back. I mean, there's nothing. They fear nothing. They've gotten away with everything in this country thus far. And
There's no penalties.
there's no penalties. And that is how fearless they are. One of them chased me up 2 flights of stairs when I first entered the building, when we went there to move the Romeros out. So again, the importance of being armed and you know, being able to protect yourself, especially as a woman. But when we talk about immigration specifically, for me, and John will tell you, one thing that stood out to me that day, as I was going up and down the stairs, and I mean, we were in a hall, we were moving. I said, this is not a hangout. We are getting their stuff and we were getting these people out, period. But there were so many women. There was a lot of young women, and they were just sitting at the doors. They were just sitting at the doors, looking out the doors, and they were looking out the window. Nobody spoke English. English, I think, in the entire complex except the Romeros. But I stopped a couple of times, and John, I don't know if you witnessed this, but I stopped a couple of times and I asked some of these women, are you okay? I don't care what country you're from right now. I don't care what planet you're from. At some point, human nature takes over.
Yeah.
We're naturally protectors. The majority of us are. The ones that are sociopaths. Yeah.
I'm telling you. And we didn't speak the same language. And so to some of the women, I started saying, are you okay? Are you okay? Kind of a universal symbol. I mean, they just looked dead. They just looked dead.
There was a lot of sex trafficking going on out of those buildings in that area. I mean, I've seen it throughout my career. And as soon as Danielle went into the building and started talking to the women, and I kind of peeked around and saw what the women, I was like, these women are being sex trafficked 100%. Yeah.
And so that's, for me, that is what stuck with me. And I think, you know, after we moved the Romeros out, the story didn't end there for me, because I saw what I saw, and I'd been seeing what I'd been seeing. And as a woman myself, a biological woman at that, I couldn't let that be the end of the story. For these other human beings, regardless of where they were from. So that's when I started sneaking back into the apartment complexes, kind of undercover, and interviewing them and asking them what their stories were, and having them tell their stories. And I just started putting it out in their words, you know, and I had to have all of it translated. But that's where, for me, it took a shift, right? Because for me, it wasn't, oh, you know, these are all illegal aliens, deport them all. First of all, it became, there's a lot of crime and blood on the Democrats' hands, specifically Jared Polis, Jason Crow, Phil Weiser, line them up in this state, you name them. There's a lot of blood and a lot of human suffering, period.
Yeah, they're allowing this to go on by not enforcing it. The human toll is the biggest part of it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
The unlawful trade of firearms or the unlawful acquisition of firearms, I should say, is the one that makes it enforceable. I mean, you look at some of the countries that have the worst, or the strictest gun control, I would say, out there. Mexico is one of them. One gun store in the entire nation inside a military base in Mexico City. But yet, if you go to the border from someone who's from Texas that's been over the border, or seen illegals on land while hunting that were very well armed, in fact, better armed than we were, that those laws aren't applying to all. They're only applying to those who obey the laws. The cartels will not abide by them. So it really makes me wonder what their logic is with this, because, you know, to bring it back to the semi-auto ban that we're going through. I mean, these criminals, these gangs, these cartels,
They're already armed.
and they're not going to have magazines affixed to their rifles. And even if that is the state law that those firearms have to be sold in that manner here in the state of Colorado, what is to keep them from modifying a firearm with a simple tool from Home Depot in order to make those take detachable mags again? Nothing. No, there's nothing to keep them. The law is feckless. It's weak. It only affects those who are going to obey the law. And at the end of the day, it makes safety and reliability a huge issue. A huge issue.
And the problem with this is that, I mean, I've spoken out about this plenty of times. I've been down to the Capitol more than I've ever wanted to in my entire life in the past 5 years. And I want people to really understand gun control is rooted in racism. The people that are in the Capitol right now have literally said out loud that they don't care if they shut down gun businesses.
Well, that's their goal. Their goal is to shut down the people who sell them lawfully so that people can have access to their Second Amendment rights. Their goal is to shut down me. Their goal is to shut down my fellow gun dealers here in Colorado Springs and instructors. It's insane. It's what we're going through.
So the opposition is very, very, not very, we want to be accepting of everybody. No, you're not. You're not accepting of this community. You're actively biased and prejudiced against the gun community. And you see them exercising that prejudice and bias with every gun bill that they propose to kill us by a death by 1,000 cuts. And I want people to understand that, what inspired me to get involved, I got sick and tired of it. I'm just a person. I'm just a regular girl from Colorado who got sick and tired of being told what I can and cannot do to protect my family. Yeah. And these politicians are using tragedy as crutches to make American people, Colorado people, the whipping boy for atrocities that they have suffered that we don't have hands in. And, it inspires me when I see people, like John and especially Danielle. Danielle, you're a small business owner. You're from Colorado. You decided to step up and say, you know what, I'm going to get involved. And you took your position.
That's what it takes.
And
it takes
ran with it.
Sometimes.
You ran that down the field. And I'm so impressed and I'm so inspired because, this is not fun. This is not easy. No. This is not, it's not something people want to get involved with because, we're taking all these wins and it's so glamorous and all this stuff. No, people are actively hate us.
And I got to say, the courage required, I mentioned this before, but it's huge. The fact that you would stand up to these illegal cartels, these syndicates, these bad organizations, that takes some gall. That's gangster. Yeah.
Gangster, man. When we were talking about the people that we wanted to put on the show, we've been discussing creating the show for a while. We've had a lot of requests from the Peanut Gallery and people are like, hey, you need your own show. And sometimes it's not going to always be so serious, but there's some serious things that are going on here. And when, we were saying, who are the people that you want to have on the show? You two were at the top of my list because you inspire me. And I knew that if people, people who respect what I do, people who respect what Teddy does, they need to know who you guys are and they need to know what it took.
Yeah, y'all are willing to swim against the current.
Yeah, because it takes inspiring stories and to see people like you that won't just take what we're given. We're not just going to be told that our families can be risked, our civil rights, our human rights are worth risking. Because I'm just like you. My name is Alicia Garcia. People see my name on paper and they think I don't even speak English. They ask me if I'm an immigrant. They assume that, I clean offices for a living. There's all these stereotypes with having, a very, very, Spanish name. And people think, I have people on my Facebook, family, friends that are like, how dare you, you're MAGA, you're all these things. How dare you be supportive of these, you're so against immigration. No, I'm not. People forget that Cesar Chavez, one of the biggest people in the Chicano movement, was was very, very against illegal immigration. He was pro giving those jobs to American citizens. And people want to ignore these aspects and people want to say, you're being racist towards our people. Just because we have an open border isn't saying that it's only Mexicanos or Latinos or,
there's Middle Eastern.
There's Al Qaeda coming through here.
Let's hit that real fast because I'm seeing
a lot. You have the most experience with that.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that on X a lot. People saying that this is all against Mexicans, and it's not true. During Trump's first administration, on average, he was deporting 18,000 people back to Europe every single year. He was deporting almost 60,000 people a year back to Canada. So we have a lot of people that are coming over from other places. We have people from over 168 countries come into the United States. So, you know, it's not about Mexico. Of course, the numbers for Mexicans are going to be higher. Why? Because it's a country right south of our border. I mean, you can walk across the border.
That's right.
Obviously, those numbers are going to be higher.
Yep.
But it's all, we have countries from all over South America. And, you know, the last 2 years, I've been down to the border a lot, you know, more than I should be being retired. And I was running into tons of Africans, tons. So we were running into people from the Sudan, from Mauritania,
Somalia, I'm sure.
All over the place. And so look, the Biden administration let in a ton of people lightly to no vetting at all. And these people are in this country right now. They don't have the skills necessary to succeed in our society. We are, Trump is right. We were not bringing over the best and brightest and putting people into a position where they can succeed. You know, there's exactly, that is what's happening. But that's what the Democrats want. This is all on the Democrats. The Democrats want this underclass that they can give benefits to, that they can give things to, because then they buy their loyalty. And this is exactly what they want. They want redistricting. They want to put these people in blue areas to strengthen those areas. They want to buy out their loyalty. And this is what we're seeing. And I think that, you know, with the Trump administration, Trump is going to get his hands around illegal immigration. He's going to bring back a better process for legal immigration so that we can have people that want to come to the United States, that want to give to the United States, not take. We have too many people that come here that want to take everything from the United States. They want every single benefit that they can get. And that's not what we need in this country. We need people who want to come here that want to work and want to build the United States, not steal and take. Yes,
that's right.
Assimilate.
People like Albert Einstein that immigrated from Germany in WW2 and helped us win the war. We want people like that. We want the most intelligent people in society. We want to make America the beacon of civilized democracy.
Yeah, and they don't all have to be, you know, Einsteins. You know, we need workers too, but it has to be people willing to work hard. Yes, they need to be willing to work hard, not people coming here to get on welfare and feed off of what the United States has. I do have a question from a viewer here. One of the questions, this is going back to the the semi-auto ban, not to change topics, but it says, are FFLs willing to pass out a list of senators to call? It can multiply our efforts a lot, from Mr. Rob. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So my good friends, Leslie Hollywood and Ava Flanell, put together a beautiful website called WeTheSecondColorado.com. If you go to that website, the very first thing you're going to see there is a button that you can click, and it will literally email all of your senators. Single one. And I would highly encourage you guys go there, you sign up, shout out to them for all the hard work that they put into that.
I'll post the link.
Yes, we're happy to post that link. At the same time, speak things from your heart. Make sure that you're not being disrespectful. You can be honorable. You're representing an entire community of people. You're representing the armed community. You know, they want us to look like crazy people. They want us to look like
psychopaths. Don't give them fuel for the fire.
Don't make us look bad. Show them that we're well-spoken, we're disciplined, we're intelligent, we're passionate, educated. We're dedicated, and we're unwavering. And tell them why you don't agree with these things, and let them know that you are a constituent, you're a voter, you're a taxpayer. And I really don't like this term law-abiding citizen, because they're making it to the point where we can't even be law-abiding citizens, because they're trying to make criminals out of their people. So we are reputable, good people in America, but they're pushing us to be criminals by making us criminals with unconstitutional and unjust laws.
Correct. They're pushing us into civil disobedience. You know, Henry Thoreau has some really good comments on that, and how government, was overstepping its boundaries. For those of you who like history.
Do we have any other comments from the peanut gallery that they questioned?
Any other questions or comments from our viewers tonight, guys? I know somebody's got to have something. We've got some really good special guests here, guys. If y'all have something for them or for us, please ask. We'd love to talk about it and answer any questions that are going through your mind.
One thing I wanted to jump in on
yes, ma'am. Go for it.
Was just before we took the question, we were talking about immigration.
Yes.
You know, one thing that really stands out to me and what I witnessed firsthand is how badly the Democrats failed all of these folks who came across the border. Because
100%.
Because it's the Democrats who said, we're going to let everybody in.
They're a political prop.
We're not going to stop anybody. We're going to let everybody. So how sad is it right? This woman who did cross the border with her children, right? Husband was killed under communist regime. These stories are real, right? So how sad is it for that woman to come across the border only for the Biden administration and for all of the Democrats to then allow this woman's terrorizers also across the border? Like, for everybody, for everything that I've been through in this entire situation, and the 1,000 times that I've been called racist and anti-migrant and anti-immigrant and all these things, it is them. It is them who allowed these people to be tortured and terrorized, murdered, raped, kidnapped, sex trafficked, on and on and on and on. Who really is trying to protect these people? The Democrats say it's them. It's not them.
But they also pretended that those crimes weren't even in existence. So they didn't have to address the fact that these people were being abused. These people were being murdered. These people were being extorted. These people were being trafficked. And I mean, think about, if you trace back people's heritage, there's always somebody who came from an immigrant. I don't care where you come from. You know, America's a land of immigrants, right? So think about the conditions that people had to leave in order to have that hope within them to come here, to want to have a better life, leaving the land that they know, not knowing the language, not having anything. They probably couldn't bring anything with them to come here looking for refuge, believing in that American dream, just to come here to be completely exploited and abused and live in a life of fear.
And how about dropped off in a random city in the middle of the night on a bus?
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of them got here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So they don't speak English. They're just
they have no resources either. So they generally end up taking from public resources in some way, or
that's right.
Yeah,
it was a lot of unscrupulous NGOs though that accepted them, because those NGOs were making millions of dollars from local government, and those NGOs then entice these people into certain areas. Because
just for the viewers, NGO, if you could define that term,
non-governmental organization. So you know, these charity organizations, these and I'm gonna call out the religious groups too, because they are part of the problem. Catholic charities, Lutheran organizations, you know, Papaguayo. There's all sorts of these organizations that are out there that are you know, making money off of the misery, and they put them in these apartment complexes in Aurora. I believe Ms. Jurinsky's looking into it with the mayor on how they wound up in those apartment complexes. You know, they landed in Denver, but they wound up in Aurora, and they didn't wind up in Aurora because they wanted to go to Aurora. Somebody funneled them into Aurora and put them in those apartment complexes and made a lot of money in doing so.
I've got two things, and someone just sent me this. A bill that proposed harsher criminal penalties related to fentanyl was postponed indefinitely Monday night inside the Colorado Capitol after a lengthy hearing inside the Senate Judiciary Committee. Did y'all hear anything about that? I know that's pretty breaking news, but it looks like they're not trying to increase penalties on fentanyl. Yes,
and it's the same thing with the Democrats, because you know, their whole thing with everything, with gun laws and everything, is this affects minorities. This will hurt the people who are addicts.
I'm a minority.
Yes, it is, but it's hurting us all. 100,000 people a year are dying from this poison, and the Democrats constantly just want to virtue signal on all of these things, and it's you know, thankfully we're starting to get a hold of this. We just have to come together as conservatives and Republicans and get our crap together in this state.
I wouldn't even say conservative or Republicans. I would say rational human beings.
Yeah, right, rational human
at the end of the day. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican.
Right.
If you're against crime, that's a nonpartisan issue. If you are pro 2A and pro civil rights, that's a nonpartisan issue. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're a minority. It doesn't matter. Same.
But we have too many Democrats right now that won't jump party line to do the right thing, to be rational, and they because they're so afraid of being called bad words. They're so afraid of being
in their own echo chamber.
Yes, exactly.
But it makes me also wonder who's in their pocket to keep them from making that move.
Who's funding these things? John, in reality, is it foreign funding?
John, we do have your twin, John Fetterman.
No, that's his Timu.com, or, you know.
He's stepping up.
Or his really bad clone that got messed up in the vial.
I think we're going to get Fetterman, guys. I think we're going to get him. I think he's going to jump.
Let's
Fetterman's turning Republican.
And see what.
And then him and I are going to have a bourbon and a cigar together when he does.
I love you guys.
Hey, he may switch parties here. We'll see what happens.
I love seeing that. I mean, look what happened with Tulsi Gabbard and, you know, these amazing people that we're bringing over because.
Well, libertarians need to be brought into the party or into the conservative movement more. They're
Absolutely.
huge. I
agree with you.
Donald Trump was a lifelong Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know.
I think we're running out of time, guys.
Yeah, I do have one more question that popped up. It said, is Senate Bill 25-003 on the Senate calendar for tomorrow? It is.
It is.
It could be changed last minute. If it is changed last minute, that's a very telling sign that they do not have the votes whipped.
Keep the pressure.
Keep the pressure up, people. Those of you who can be present in the chamber, go. Be respectful and go. Go talk to your representatives. Go talk to your senators in their office hours. They will be there. Do not wear red. That is the color of Moms Demand Action and the anti-gunners. We call them lobster backs or red coats. Don't wear that. Black is a color we usually wear in solidarity with our movement for the Second Amendment. But regardless, guys, guys, thank you so much for your time and coming on the show tonight. We really do appreciate you. I know y'all are very busy people, and we really want to thank you for everything that y'all are doing for the Second Amendment community, for us and our civil rights, and everything you're doing on the immigration front.
We got to keep fighting. We got to win.
No, what'd you say, John?
I'd say we just got to keep fighting. We have to win. There's no other alternative.
We can't get complacent. And a lot of people, they like the biggest argument I hear is, oh, I can't get involved with that, or I don't have the time. They know that. They want that. These paid protesters, these paid people, they have the time. That's their job. We have to show up. If we don't show up, we don't have our voices heard, and they think there's no opposition.
If you feel that this is not something you can make a priority, you have your priorities all wrong.
You can zoom in. You can, for these hearings, you can zoom in. You can go in person. You know, even if you're at work, keep your Zoom running. Keep the Capitol. Sign up to testify. We need you to testify. We need to outnumber the people that are proponents for these gun control bills 10-1. We did in our last hearing at least 4-1. They ran out of testimonies around 3 p.m. We kept going till 11 p.m. until they literally cut us off with remaining in-person people waiting to be heard, and hundreds of people online waiting to be heard.
Your voices matter.
But your voices matter. It makes a difference. We need you. We need this 2A support. Guys, you know, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Please, you know, follow us. Follow the Second Syndicate. Follow Spartan Defense Armory, the sponsor of the show. We're a local owned shop here in Colorado Springs, locally owned and operated. We've got all your needs. Other than that, though, guys, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It's awesome to have y'all on this show, especially.
Can I just make one quick shout out? Can you know, check out our website, Safe Colorado, where we're looking to be strong advocates for enforcement in Colorado against illegal immigration.
SafeColorado.com, John?
It's safecolorado.org. And you can also go to johnfab.com, JOHNFABB.com, and there's a link on my website to
follow these guys on social. Follow both of them.
Yep, and follow Danielle on social and follow John Fabbricatore on social.
Yeah.
There you go.
And God bless America.
God bless America.
Danielle, what's your information that people can follow you and find you and reach out to you?
So my website is DanielleForAurora.com. You can go on there and sign up for my newsletter, and that's FOR, DanielleForAurora.com. My X handle is Danny Jurinsky. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I have a political page that you can openly follow on Facebook, but I'm out there everywhere. John and I are attacking these guys, giving them hell, raising hell, bringing hell with us every single day.
Awesome. One last question for the both of you. What is your holy grail firearm? Price doesn't matter, John. What's the gun you're choosing?
Your one go-to.
Oh man, I don't know. I was looking at a lot of different shadow system stuff while I was at the SHOT Show, but look, I'm a regular guy, man. I carry a Sig Spectre, an XL. You know, that's my EDC every single day, 365 Spectre. So
we're gonna get you behind a staccato, John. It's gonna happen.
All right.
What about you, Danielle?
My personal carry, don't laugh. My personal carry is a Beretta 32 with a 7-round chamber, a pop-up chamber.
Yeah, James Bond.
Yeah.
The Tomcat? Is it the Tomcat?
It's the Tomcat. It's the 32 Tomcat.
That's a one-hand wielder. You can double fist that.
With the pop-up chamber. That's my personal carry.
I can get you a pocket suppressor legally, just so you know.
Yeah. Do what? Say that again.
It's a good suppressor host. We can get you a pocket suppressor, keychain suppressor that's lawful that you can just detach and put on that. Don't worry about that. We got you.
No one heard that.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you everybody that tuned in to watch our show. This means more than you could ever know, just to see you guys come out and to support us. Please subscribe, hit that bell, comment, engage, help us stay against the shadow banning, because you know the 2A community is heavily being attacked from all angles. You can follow me on X at Boomstick Babe. You can follow me on Instagram at the Boomstick Babe. You can sign up and here to Spartan Defense Armory on YouTube, follow Spartan Defense on X, follow Spartan Defense on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook too. So thank you guys so much.
And tune in next week.
Stay strapped, stay involved, stay political, keep the fight up.
And we'll be back next week, guys, with another edition of the Second Syndicate.
Stay armed and stay alive. Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye,
night.
guys.
God bless.